Hi, this is Scott with eTrailer, and today we're going to take a look at and install our Curt 4-pole wiring system for our 2025 Mazda CX-30. Our Curt 4-pole wiring for a Mazda is pretty much essential if you plan on pulling any kind of trailers, or if you have a bike rack or a cargo carrier that has any kind of lighting in it at all. You're going to have this set up. This one's going to have everything you need to get you set up for towing a small trailer behind your Mazda. Installation for this kit is pretty straightforward. You are going to have to take out some panels on the inside. It may seem a little daunting, but once you start into it, it's really not that bad at all, and it actually goes together faster than what you took it apart. Now, the way we have ours out now, we do have it out where it's hanging out of the hatch and kind of looped around down here on our chain loop. We'll take a look and see what we've got. Now, when we open up our hatch, what this is going to do is come off of here, and we can keep it here in the back. We don't have to have it on a mount or anything here. So what's nice about this is, say you only pull a trailer once in a while, you don't have to have it always out there in the elements, so it's going to keep your plug-in and everything in good shape. All you have to do is just lift up and stash your wire right in here, and it's out of the way, and you don't have to worry about it. As I said before, installation for our Curt 4-pole wiring is pretty straightforward. If it's something you really don't want to mess with yourself, you can always take a look at our dealer locator and get something done where you can get it installed locally, or stick around and watch our video and we'll help you get it installed. To start our installation for our 4-pole wiring, we need to remove our back flooring. We'll just get that out of the way. Now we want to remove our threshold. Just kind of grab on the sides and get it underneath, and then you can work your way across, pulling up on the bottom, and just lift, and we'll get that out of our way. Now, to make more room, we're just going to remove our jack accessory foam. Now, on our side panels, on both sides, we're going to pop these out. You can get your hand underneath it between the felt. Just pull back carefully, and we'll let that hang in place. Now, on both sides, we're going to be doing the same thing. Behind here, we have a little plastic clip, and we're going to do the same one down here. We'll do that on both sides. Now, getting underneath this clip can be a little tricky, so I'm just going to use a sharp little pick tool, get under the edge, and pry out. Just pop those up and out. Now, we do have another clip down here. Should have the same on both sides, so we'll do the same thing we did on the others. Just get a pick tool under it and pop that out of the way. Now, in the rearmost portion of our car, we have our cargo loop. On the bottom of it, there's going to be a little slot. Just get you a little screwdriver or something in behind that. Pop that up. Behind that, we're going to have a 10mm bolt. We'll get that out now. Once we have all those out, now we have our panel that's going to have one pop clip behind it. You just want to apply a little pressure and pop out. Now, to make things easier, I'm going to go ahead and remove our other cargo hook. Now we'll be able to have more room to push this out of the way so we can get behind here. We need to get this plastic panel out of the way. What this is going to be is, behind here is going to have our grommet that we're going to run our power wire out and up to the front. Also, it's just going to give us more room to figure out where we want to mount our control box, and also give us room to reach our wiring and get everything run through. We're just going to do like we were doing with our other pop clips. Get under our pop clip and just pry it up. Now, once we get that up, we just pull up on the one side that is slotted. Just make it clear that clip. Now we can pop this forward and pull our panel out of the way. Hold on. Right here, you can see our grommet. This is where we're going to run our power wire out. This is also behind here is where we're going to access our wires, where we're going to plug in our 4-pole wiring. On our driver's side, we'll follow our wiring that comes out of our tail light, and we come down to this plug. Now if we push on this back portion, that's going to release our clip, and now we can pull out on our wiring. Now that we're right here, we'll go ahead and get our wiring plugged in. Now we're looking for the side that has our little notch. That's going to lock into this tab, so we want to orientate those together. And our driver's side wiring is going to be the yellow, brown, and the red. So we'll just get these all connected, making sure, checking where our clip side is. Get everything to click, and make sure you have a good audible click, and just give them a check. Make sure you have a good secure connection. Now our green wire is going to be our longer one, and it's going to go across a back. And the nice thing about this here is we have a wire that we're going to be able to tie off of. So that's going to make it nice and clean. What we have here is the same as the other side. It's the same type of connection. We're just going to push in on the tab and pull up on our wire. Now we see we have our ends. Need to match our ends up again. We have our side with the clip. Good audible click. Make sure you have a good connection. Now we have this side with our little catch for our clip. And we'll push it into place. Good audible click. Good connection. Now we can get our wire supported by our factory harness that comes across. Now that we have our wiring all figured out and where everything's going, we're going to go ahead and get our box mounted. We have our double-sided tape that comes in our kit. It's going to get that stuck to the back. Pull off our backing. And we want to make sure it's not going to come in contact with anything once we go back with our panels. So we're going to go right up behind here, as far over as we can, and stick it right here to our fender well. Now we're going to set up our ground. We're going to go to a good place right here on the body. When you're looking for a place to ground, you want to make sure it's nothing that's going to get into the outer portion of the body of your car. So this right here, this panel, is going to be basically standalone and just kind of sticks out there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run my ground right there. Now the black wire is going to be our power wire that's going to be run up front. So we're going to have to get it connected to the wire that comes in our kit. That's going to be our extension wire. What we have here is heat shrink butt connector. I'm going to get one end crimped on. And just give it a pull. Make sure you have a good connection. Now the wire that comes in our kit. Just want to strip an end off. Get that twisted together. Now we have our grommet. We're just going to pop our grommet out. I want to go right through the center of it. A lot of times I'll start a little hole with like the pick I use to pop out my clips, so to get a little hole started. Then I'll take a Phillips screwdriver and just run that through. Now keeping in mind, I want this portion of our grommet to go down because we're going to click it back into the body. Now I'll take my wire, run that through my grommet. And as you can see, that makes a nice tight seal around it, doing it that way. Now we'll just run it down and back through our body. And that's also going to isolate the wire from the metal around here, so it's not going to chafe, so you won't get any shorts. Now we can take our power wire and run it to our heat shrink butt connector and get it crimped in place. Now with our heat source, we're going to heat up our heat shrink butt connector and just get our ends to seal up down around that wire. We just want to make sure we're watching it get most of the bubbles out by heating all the way around it. And once we get to that point, what we want to see is a little bit of gel coming out of the end. That's how we know we've got a good seal. Now that we have our connection made, we can push our wire down through. Now we can get under our vehicle and start running our power wire forward. Now you can see where we ran our power wire. You can see our grommet comes out underneath the bottom, and that runs over, up. We tied off right here to the upper portion of our exhaust isolator mount, ran up over here, up to a factory line, ran over across that, and then down, and then it dropped down over by our gas tank, and we met up with lines under there. Now you got to keep in mind when you're doing this, you want to keep your wires away from hot parts and moving parts. So any suspension component, you don't want it rubbing on it, chafing it, or burning it with hot components. So make sure you keep that up and away from everything. And then we ran all the way up through here and tied off to our lines across through here. Everything's covered on this, so it's kind of hard to see. But then we jumped over, and we had to find a little spot for it to run through, right up through here. And so when we did that, it went up away from our sway bar, our rack and pinion, and any of our suspension components there, and also away from our exhaust. So it ran it straight up and then right over directly to our battery, which we'll show you here in just 1 second. Now we have our power wire run right up here by the battery. You can see where we have it coming out. We have our positive terminal right here, and we're going to link right in here with that. So now we have our fuse holder. We're just going to cut our fuse holder in half. Now we're going to come back through and strip off both ends. And twist that. Now we have a heat shrink butt connector. We do not have this available in the kit, but we do have these available here at eTrailer. I do recommend going this route because these will give it a really solid hookup and will also keep moisture out of our connection. Okay, get that crimped in place. Make sure you got a good tight connection. Now we have our ring terminal. Get that crimped in place as well. Good crimp on that. Okay. Now we have our wire that we ran up from the rear. We'll strip that off. Get a good twist. Now we can connect our heat shrink butt connector to our power wire. Give that a good crimp down. Now we have a 12mm socket, and we're just going to break this loose. And I'm going to try and do this with it keeping power. Take our terminal and run it where it comes out the front. Now we'll just tighten it down. Now we'll just use our heat source and heat up our butt connector. Now we'll take our 15 amp fuse and get it installed in our fuse holder. Go ahead and close that up. Now we'll test our lights. We'll turn our lights on. And we'll do left turn, right turn. We'll do brakes, brakes with left turn, brakes with right turn, and all of our lights are working. Now that we checked our lights and everything's working, now we can go ahead and put everything back together and we're ready to start towing. And that was a look at our Curt 4-pole wiring for our 2025 Mazda CX-30. I'm Scott with eTrailer, and thanks for watching.